Just something as simple as that would be so helpful for new players. And there's a bunch of people who've never even played MMOs before, whose first experiences with Ashes, God rest their soul. And there's just not enough helpful things for the new players like this so that they can easily find what the objective is, and then they just give up on the objective and they're already out of town because they couldn't find it or whatever the case may be.
Borgir, I think is how you say this person's name, on the Ashes of Creation official Discord in their Alpha 2 feedback forums, asked for a recipe tracker. Basically, they're talking about like currently the gathering, processing, and crafting systems feel very isolated from each other. Borgir ends up saying that they would like to see all of the steps. So if you need a copper fragment, a zinc fragment, and ash timbers for a specific recipe for an excavation kit, for example, they would like to see it where it says add 1 copper fragment, 0 out of 1 processed copper fragment, 0 1 gathered copper. And it would essentially break it down for you so that you could see what the individual steps are for each piece, which could definitely be nice for newbies that are coming into Ashes that are like, whoa, this artisan thing is a lot, which is definitely why I think a few of the artisans were slept on in the beginning phases, because there's just so much to the artisan system and it can be a little overwhelming. And I, for one, asked for something similar to this a long time ago, which is let me choose what my experience bar is. Right now, they've actually adjusted the XP bar to be fragmented into sections, but you can't choose. And one thing that I always had like a love for from World of Warcraft was being able to select my tailoring and then watching my progress on tailoring as I do tailoring, especially for when you hit like level 25 in Ashes and you've already maxed out your XP bar. That bar isn't really helping you with anything. You're like, okay, cool, I'm the maxed out that I can be. It definitely tells you when you have XP debt, but that doesn't really matter when you're 25. But I don't know, I thought this was a good idea, which is why I added it. But what are your thoughts?
I totally support it. Just looking at the concept UI that he had linked there, I mean, even just to something as simple as that would be so helpful for new players. And there's a bunch of people who've never even played MMOs before, whose first experiences with Ashes, God rest their soul. And there's just not enough helpful things for the new players like this so that they can easily find what the objective is, and then they just give up on the objective and they're already out of town because they couldn't find it or whatever the case may be.
So I like the idea of that. It'd be pretty nifty to be able to see where you can go and do stuff. Even more so to kind of integrate it with what you're choosing for skills, and what you're choosing to do would be, if it was smart enough to check your skill levels on everything. And if you didn't have enough skill to say harvest or gather, I don't know, whatever they're going to call, let's just call it platinum for like a top tier metal. And it would just wouldn't say gather platinum. It would just say obtain platinum or something.
Yeah, I like that.
Or obtain platinum fragment. And you just have to worry about how you're going to get that. Like, are you going to process it? Or are you going to buy it? Or are you going to whatever? Instead of sending you out to gather. But I think it would be nifty to show, and this is part of the whole artisan system that I kind of hope they'll put in at some point, which is you having in-game a memory of what you're doing and where you did it. So if you have gathered points of, or if you have gathered something somewhere, you'd have a vague memory of, around this region I've found copper before. And you'd be able to look on your map and say, somewhere around in here, I have found copper here before. Let me go and see if I can look around that area again.
See, I think that's why, and I think you mentioned this prior, I would love the ability to put down like where I saw resources for my map and have like custom icons that I could put down, like, oh, over here I found like some like a vein of copper. So just check over here occasionally. And over here I found flax, which is really hard to find. But then at least I have an idea of like where I've seen it before. So I have an idea of where to look again.
You definitely need a custom map marker system, and not just placing one and having it stay there or something, but literally be able to place multiple notes. Like, you know, went here looking for whatever, and that's where I left off before I ran back to town to log out for the night. Or something, you know, even marking off, like you were saying, certain gatherables, or, you know, I was looking over here for a quest and I think it's in this general area, but I didn't finish looking, like something to mark off, like on literally, if you had a paper map in front of you, even if you doodled it yourself, to be able to say, this is roughly where I was looking at last.
A caveat to this system is, what if, or maybe not a caveat, but I'd extend it a step further maybe and say, if you're looking for a specific rarity, because sure, maybe you gathered 10 ash, but what if you're trying to process a certain rarity of said 10 ash? And because there's a variety of rarities that you're going after, maybe out of your 10 ash, you ended up getting 3 common, 4 uncommon, and then maybe another 3 rare heroic, for example. But you're trying to go for rare and heroic, so you would really realistically only have 3 out of 10. And I think that this kind of gets into like those kind of drill downs that kind of add a little extra complexity to just adding a system like this. But I like the direction they're going.
Yeah, and I guess to add an addition to the recipe tracker thing, it'd be nifty if you could set a rarity, and it would kind of show you, like, if you're trying to go for, say, epic excavation kit, it would show you all the epic stuff, but show you the total points of rarity that you would get out of using everything epic, and like the minimum and maximum you'd actually need to get. Or like even just a bar that said like, hey, epic is within this range and you'll be hitting exactly the bare minimum if you use these items.
Yeah, I'd like to see that within the crafting UI, I think. When you go to craft an item and then it shows you like roughly, I don't know, I'd like to see about how much XP I'm going to get from it, especially when you think about it in Maple, let me know what you think about this. There's the adjustment, I think, of when you make something, especially as you make, let's say, anything crafting. So boots. I always go back to boots because I was doing tailoring. But I made a bunch of common boots because using the rarer items was not really important, since I didn't get more XP for making like epic boots. So I think it would be really nice to have something in the UI that says this will come out to this rarity, and then this is roughly like the XP that you would get from it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It would be very helpful for people who are planning how they want to do things and what resources they want to get. I feel like they are probably going to implement something like that, because if you take animal husbandry into consideration here on the EXP per rarity, if you process an uncommon or above animal, you get more XP for that than you do a common one. So I feel like that should transfer over. If you're making uncommon boots, rare boots, heroic boots, you should get that same EXP boost.